The movie starts with a violent, first-person rampage through a building filled with criminals. A mysterious female assassin storms the place, gunning down enemies with ruthless precision. Axe-wielding men try to stop her, hurling their weapons, but she dodges them all, moving like a force of nature. When her gun is lost, she draws 2 long daggers and continues her blood-soaked path. She slices through countless enemies, fighting her way down hallways, up stairwells and through shattered windows, room after room, floor after floor. Her enemies scream in pain or stand frozen, awaiting their fate. Eventually, she reaches the top floor, the final stage. A mirror reveals her face for the first time. The guards here are weaker than those below and are quickly dispatched. Now, only the boss remains. He fights back, but it's no contest. She wraps a rope around his neck, leaps out the window, and uses her body weight to hang him. As the police arrive to arrest her, she smiles darkly, unfazed. She later wakes up in a small room with a bed and a cross on the wall. Suddenly, gas seeps in through a vent overhead, putting her back to sleep. She's moved to an operating room. As she drifts in and out of consciousness, we see markings on her face. It's a plastic surgery operation. Later, she's in another room, quietly eating. Once again, she senses gas in the air. Her instincts kick in, triggering a flashback from her past. In training, she and others were forced to hold their breath underwater. After 5 minutes, knives were thrown in for them to cut themselves free. But she remained still, pretending to be unconscious. When the instructor dove in to save her, she surprised him. She had been holding her breath all along. Now, back in the present, she fights back. She attacks her captors and makes a break for it, storming through the facility, passing other young women locked away in rooms. Using a staff member as a shield, she pushes forward. One girl named Kwansuk offers to help. Together, they reach the rooftop and jump off. But, just as she begins to hope for freedom, Kwan betrays her, tranquilizing her in mid-air. The movie continues as Suk-hee wakes up in a sterile room, surrounded by a team of operatives, observing her through CCTV monitors. Among them is Kwansuk, a cold, composed woman who leads the operation. When they're alone in an interrogation room, Kwansuk lays everything out. Suk-hee has been given a new identity and a new face, not as a prisoner, but as a government asset. Because of her exceptional skills, the agency wants to recruit her as a government assassin. Suk-hee, however, feels broken and sees no reason to keep living. That's when Kwansuk delivers the real blow. Suk-hee is pregnant. Now, for the sake of her unborn child, she agrees to stay alive and serve. The offer is simple: 10 years of service as a government assassin. Then she's free, with a pension and a new life. She begins a new chapter inside the facility, training intensely. Alongside combat drills and weapons practice, she's also taught makeup, acting, and seduction, everything needed to infiltrate and eliminate. Her child is eventually born, and Suk-hee vows to protect her baby at any cost. During a sparring session with blades, one recruit bullies Suk-hee's friend, and then makes the mistake of challenging Suk-hee herself. The outcome is brutal. Suk-hee reminds everyone who the top predator is. All the while, her superiors watch closely from the control room. One of them, Hyun-soo, is selected to be her undercover handler once she's released into society. As she undergoes a procedure to remove a defining tattoo, Suk-hee falls into a memory. Her first mentor, Jung, was the one who inked it years ago. Back then, she had sworn to take revenge on the men who murdered her father. One of those men was Jang Chun, a ruthless criminal with rotting teeth. In a flashback, we see Suk-hee finally track him down. But just as she thinks she has him cornered, his men ambush her. She's tied to a chair, moments from torture, until Jung bursts in and saves her. Back in the present, Suk-hee aces all her training, including target practice and speed weapon assembly. She's done this before. Jung had taught her everything. Now fully trained, she receives her first mission. Disguised and on a motorbike, she arrives at the target's home. The man is prepared, and a fierce fight breaks out. Though Suk-hee struggles with hesitation, she stabs him and flees. His men chase her through alleyways and over rooftops, but she escapes by leaping into a river. Kwansuk later retrieves her, silently observing the emotions etched into her face. In another flashback, we learn the motive behind her thirst for revenge. Her father had been killed by Jang Chun, his former friend and partner, over a stolen gemstone. For that betrayal, Jang murdered him in cold blood. And now, Suki's mission is personal. Suki recalls another figure from her past. There was a second man involved in her father's death. Before that tragic day, her father had promised her something special, a gemstone saved as her wedding gift. But with his murder, that promise died too. Jiang Chun, the man responsible, not only stole the stone, but also sold young Suki to a brothel. On her first night there, fate intervened. Yes, the same Jung, who would later become her mentor, was on a mission and happened to be there. He eliminated his target and saved her before she could be assaulted. That was the beginning of their bond, their loyalty, and eventually, their love. Flash forward to the present. Suk-hee is finally ready to leave the facility and start her new life with her daughter. Kwon-suk arranges everything, from the apartment to the cover story. They drive her to her new place, and that's where Hyun-soo reappears. He accidentally bumps into her in the elevator, knocking over a few boxes in an awkward encounter. Turns out, he's her next-door neighbor. A little too friendly, in fact. Enough to trigger suspicion. Suk-hee quickly calls HQ for a background check. Meanwhile, Hyun does the same, surprised by the twist of fate. Or rather, the assignment. The next morning he helps her catch a delayed bus, earning a few points in the Guardian Angel department. Soon they're on their first official date. Suk notices his tie. It's the same color Jung wore at their wedding. Because yes, Suk-hee had married her mentor. The ceremony was intimate but bizarre, filled mostly with Jung's loyal men. Tragically, during their honeymoon, Jung was assassinated. It was quick, brutal, and left Suk-hee broken. Back in the present, Hyun-soo continues playing the perfect neighbor. On their way home after the date, he gets out of the taxi early, but Suk changes her mind and decides to meet him halfway. They reach her apartment, the tension builds, and they begin kissing. But then her phone rings. It's a mission. Suk is paired with her old friend Min-ju. The mission: seduce a pair of shady men and recover data from one of their phones. Suk smoothly lifts the device and heads to the bathroom to clone its contents. But when she steps back out, everything goes sideways. Min-ju has a blade to her throat, and the men are onto them. A fight breaks out. Min-ju isn't fast enough. She's stabbed during the scuffle. As they try to escape, Suk pleads for help, demanding that Min be taken to a hospital. But it's too late. Min-ju dies on the way. That evening, grief swallows Suk. She walks into the shower, fully clothed, trying to wash away the blood, the guilt, and the pain. Hyun finds her like that, broken, and checks on her. The next morning, life pretends to go on. Hyun is in the kitchen, feeding her daughter. For a moment, they look like a normal family. But beneath the smiles and small talk, they are still assassins, haunted by the things they've done. They admit it to each other. Neither of them is good. Still, they choose love. They decide to get married, and of course, Kwon handles the arrangements. Even Suk's old nemesis from the training academy shows up at the wedding, still the smug, polished brat she always was. And Suk? Still a bright firecracker, even on her big day. But there's no rest for the wicked. Mid-reception, Kwon makes contact. Suk slips away to the restroom, where, inside a concealed compartment, she begins assembling a hidden rifle, piece by piece. Once ready, she climbs into the ceiling vent and scopes out her target through the wedding hall skylight. Then, her finger freezes on the trigger. It's Jung, the man she once loved, her former mentor, her husband, the one she was told had been assassinated. Her pulse spikes, her hands tremble. She misfires. He disappears into the crowd. She's shaken, like she's seen a ghost. And she has. The same ghost for whom she killed an entire building full of men at the very start of her journey. Later that day, Jung retraces the origin of the shot. He's meticulous. He studies the restroom layout, gets hold of guest lists, learns about the wedding that took place. But the bride? He can't place her. Unbeknownst to him, she's had a few procedures. She's not the Suki he once knew, at least not on the surface. They cross paths again at a quiet dinner. Hyun excused himself to take a call. Hyun sits across from Suk. There's tension in the air. Recognition teeters at the edge of his mind, but never quite lands. The moment passes. He leaves. Suk exhales. Meanwhile, Hyun is in the bathroom, murmuring into his phone, relaying updates to HQ. Here, we cut to a flashback. Jung executing Mr. Yellowteeth, a favor for Suk. That memory haunts him. The nightmares come often, full of rot and regret. That very night, wrapped in shadows and unspoken affection, Suk suggests they get married. Fast forward, Suk is prepping for another cover gig, this time an actress on stage. An anonymous admirer sends her flowers. Like always, there's a note. It includes a location. It includes an insult to a friend. Meanwhile, the people that pass by sends a note of approval. Like always, there's a note. It includes a She makes her way there, expertly dodging surveillance cameras and watchers, both digital and human. At the hidden spot, she receives a flash drive and hurries to a public computer cafe. She plugs it in. It's audio. Kwon-soo's voice. He's on the phone with HQ. The entire call has been tapped. Through the carefully chosen words and coded phrases, the truth emerges. He's her handler. Their relationship might have been scripted, monitored, managed. Suki cries quietly in the glow of the screen. But there's no time to mourn. She sends a warning through the same channel she received the message. A cryptic recording. Someone's coming to kill him. Jung receives the warning. He's smart enough to understand the hint. The next assassin never makes it past the front door, ambushed on arrival. Back at HQ, Kwon reviews the breach. He knows Suk is responsible. Back home, Suk catches Hyun on the phone again, still feeding the line about his sick mother. Does she believe him? No. But she hugs him anyway, and tells him to take care. As Suk exits her building that same afternoon, Kwon is waiting. She's arrested on the spot. The charge? Treason, colluding with criminal elements to endanger a government agent. Kwon stays clinical, cold. She orders Hyun to pick up Suk's daughter en route to the transfer. They're handing Suk off to a higher authority, and this time, there's no getting out of it. But then, the convoy is hit, ambushed. Young. Of course it's him. He tears through the transport, freeing Suk once again. For better or worse, he's still saving her. She bolts, racing back to her apartment to retrieve her daughter. But as she rounds the corner, boom! A fireball erupts from her building. The shockwave knocks her back. Hyun comes flying over the balcony, arms wrapped around her daughter. They crash onto the street in front of her. The little girl isn't moving, and Hyun, dying. With his last breath, he tries to tell her who's behind the bombing, but he chokes on his own blood before he can finish. Gone. Suk is done running. She storms HQ, blind with rage. Kwon braces herself as Suk explodes into the room. The younger woman has murder in her eyes. But before things go nuclear, Kwon plays a clip security footage from earlier that day. It's Suk's apartment. Hyun's on camera cradling the girl and unlocking the door. Then Hyun's men jump him. They were waiting. On the phone, Hyun begs Hyun to spare the child, says she's his, says he'll give his life in return. But Jung? He says no. He wants Suk to watch her world burn. The nanny is slaughtered. The bomb is planted. That evening, when Suk turned that corner and saw the fireball, Jung made sure she'd see it all. Back in the HQ war room, Suk stands paralyzed in front of the video feed. Then she snaps. She unloads her gun on every monitor, shattering glass and silence alike. Her heart shattered long before. Kwon tries to calm her, offers sympathy, something almost human. On her way out, Suk hears one last audio file. Hyun's voice, talking to Kwon. He meant the proposal. He wanted a life with her. It wasn't all lies. Too late. Blood has already been spilled, and now it's time for more. Suk hits the streets. She spots Jung and his crew, gathered like vultures. She doesn't brake. Her car slams into the building, taking out columns, spraying dust and concrete everywhere. Bullets fly, screams echo. But Suk moves like a phantom, clearing them out room by room, bullet by bullet. Eventually, it's just her and Jung, face to face. She demands the truth. Did you ever love me? Jung scoffs, says no. Says he found her broken and made her useful, played the mentor, played the husband. Because girls with daddy issues are easy to mold, she snaps. No more bullets, no more lies, just knives, one in each hand. They fight. Vicious, surgical, like the warriors they were trained to be. Mentor versus protege. Hate layered over heartbreak. Their duel spills outside. They crash through a window and land dangerously on an air conditioning unit, teetering on the edge of the building. Then, boom, they fall again, smashing onto the roof of a parked car. Jung's remaining men make a break for it, hijacking a coach bus. Suk gives chase. She intercepts the bus, climbs aboard, and tears through the last few bodyguards. The driver tries to escape. No chance. She slashes, and the bus veers off course, slamming into a sedan. Everyone inside is out cold, except for him. Jung stumbles to his feet, dazed but alive. Suk approaches, axe in hand, hesitates. Then he whistles. A slow, sickening melody. The same tune she heard the day her father was killed. Jung was the second man in the room. Now it's clear. No more mercy. Suk raises the axe and brings it down. When the police arrive minutes later, they find her standing alone in the wreckage, bloodied but unbothered, wearing the same twisted smile she had when it all began.